Do you know when it will start?
Right now. You're live.
Glory be to Jesus Christ. Glory be forever. Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to our Saturday coffee time. Coffee in a cassock. I'm going to give everyone just a couple minutes to show up. I know that I've been told before by my beautiful wife, among others, to just chill a little bit.
There's one person.
There's one person. Hello, one person. Say hi so that we know who you are. Yeah, so it's a beautiful day here in Lloyd. We went for a walk earlier today and just chatted, Kim and I, and kids are cleaning the house.
They're watching a show right now.
They're watching a show right now, but we were Saturday morning is our full court press clean the house day, and so I think it was met with some success today.
Less success than usual, though.
Less success than usual. So yeah.
But we're tired.
We are tired. Kim was visiting a friend just recently, and so they're back, and we got to kind of catch up from that point. Did you post this on the other walls and everything?
Not yet, because I'm eating a chicken wing.
My wife is going to post this on the other things once she's done eating her chicken wings.
There's 4 people.
There we go. There we go. Well, today we are going to talk about more movies. We're going to talk about a movie that
Probably no one has seen.
probably no one has seen. It came out a long time ago. This is our problem, is that we don't watch movies when they come out right away. So we're always kind of playing catch up. But this is a movie that is available. Where do we get it? Is it on Disney Plus?
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. It's called Rise of the Guardians. And it's a children's movie. It's made by DreamWorks. DreamWorks movies. And it's an interesting movie. It's like a children's superhero movie mixed with fairy tales, mixed with computer animation. So it's a very, very sort of interesting story. Just a sort of a side note before sort of tackling the movie.
Planchocks are here.
Movie specifically. Hello, the Planchocks are here. That's great. So Father Roman Planchock is the pastor out in Assumption in Grand Prairie. And
Is it Assumption?
it is Assumption.
He's not in Grand Prairie. He's Father
Or
Planchock.
is it Dormition? Oh, sorry.
Father Planchock is in Calgary.
There is a Dormition, and there is a Dormition in Grand Prairie and in Calgary, and he's in the Calgary one. But I don't know if it's called Assumption or Dormition. Anyway, he's there in Calgary. But he's also here online, or one of his family members is. Welcome. Just a side note about movies and kids and watching movies with kids. I sort of have a breakdown. I was asked this about sort of what sort of movies we expose our kids to, and what the rhyme and reason is in that sort of those different categories. So there are movies that I don't let my kids watch, and there are movies that I will let the kids watch on their own because I've already seen them or whatever. And then there are movies that I would watch together with the kids because it leads to good conversation. And this is part of that last category, this Rise of the Guardians. There are some movies that they're just not going to be of any benefit, so it's going to be worse. So you just forbid it. There are movies that are sort of inert for the most part, or you've seen them already, and so you know it's there. And then movies that you might like certain elements of it. Or you might not, but that doesn't mean that you can't watch it together. The nice thing about watching a movie together is it's a story that you can both comment on. It's a nice sort of thing to do as a family movie night, but you don't have to agree with all of it. And in fact, that's, I think, even more beneficial to a certain extent, is watching those movies that you're going to disagree with together, and then saying, well, why didn't that story hit home? Why did that story sort of make sense? Or why did that story kind of not satisfy in the end? And spoiler alert, this was one of those last ones. So Rise of the Guardians. Here's the premise. The premise is that there is a... Oh, sorry, before we begin, did we post it in other locations?
It's in Jesus Prayer 40 and it's on the Parish Stories.
Oh, I wasn't going to put it on Jesus Prayer 40, but welcome Jesus Prayer 40ers.
Where did you want me to put it?
Maybe just on my wall in the...
Oh, I'll put it on your wall.
Okay, awesome. Welcome Jesus Prayer 40ers to this live stream, Coffee and a Cassock. You know, you're always welcome to join these things. They're usually in their own little group, but welcome. So for those who are not in Jesus Prayer 40, Jesus Prayer Jesus Prayer 40 is a prayer challenge that I'm one of the organizers of, and it's been a wonderful opportunity. We're going to do 40 people praying 40 Jesus prayers a day for 40 days, and there's a little bit of a catechetical component to it. There's an accountability piece where we sort of share our journey together, and it's been very beneficial. You know, we're in our second cohort already. We had many graduates from the first Jesus Prayer 40 come up into the second group, and so it's been a wonderful experience. So for those who are interested and not in this group, stay tuned, because we will, please God, have a chance to run it again in the future, in the near future. So the premise of Rise of the Guardians is that there's the boogeyman, who is the bad guy, and there are a number of sort of mythological creatures, personifications, for lack of a better term, that are tasked with guarding children. And so we have the Sandman, the one that makes children fall asleep. He's this kind of mute, kung fu, cute, cuddly character who makes kids fall asleep, and he's an interesting character. There's the Tooth Fairy, who is kind of like a hummingbird, a cross between a hummingbird and a human being, and she has a number of different little hummingbird minions that go out and collect the teeth and put the coins under the pillows. There is a man who is Santa Claus, but he's not called Santa Claus. He's called North, I think. Right?
Well, it's Santa Claus, but it's like nicknames. They all have nicknames.
They all have
It's
nicknames.
Like North and
I don't know who the Easter Bunny is. But anyway, so he's like some like Russian gypsy with like big, like he's a big stocky Russian gypsy Santa Claus who has like naughty on one arm tattooed and nice on the other arm tattooed, and he has these twin sabers that he uses to fight bad guys. And then there's the Easter Bunny, and he's also kind of like a kung fu expert. Am I missing any of them? Is that all of them? And then there's the protagonist, Jack Frost, who is an interesting character. He's the one that sort of has the ability to make things frosty, make snow and stuff like that. And so it's a character-driven show. It is not a plot-driven show. The whole premise is that Jack Frost does not remember who he is before he is selected to be a guardian. Now, this is kind of an interesting process. At the very beginning of the movie, you see Jack Frost kind of looking up at the moon and saying that the moon called him to sort of be a guardian. You know, the moon is who made Jack Frost Jack Frost. And he doesn't know why. So he just kind of goes around and freezes things. And he's trying to figure out what he's all about, you know, like why did the moon call me? Because the moon is the last thing he sees before he kind of wakes up from into this new existence as Jack Frost. He doesn't have any memories of his life before. So it turns out that the man in the moon is the controlling figure here. And he's the one that's kind of selecting these different mythological creatures or personifications to guard the children. And the boogeyman is the one who is interested in the children being afraid of him. And that's the motivation of the boogeyman. He wants people to believe in him. And so it's a very interesting story that way. So that's kind of the premise. Okay, the guardians are there trying to guard the children from the boogeyman. The boogeyman wants the children to believe in him through fear, and the guardians are interested in the children sort of believing in them. And it's sort of not a race or I guess it's like a competition between who they're going to believe in more, the boogeyman or these characters. Okay. So very interesting stuff. The first question, obviously, is how far are you going to get in a story where Christmas, has nothing to do with the birth of our Lord, and Easter has nothing to do with the resurrection,
nothing,
or the cross, like nothing at all. So obviously, there's going to be some inherent difficulties, to say the least, and you can sort of see the way it works throughout the story. So the first sort of blaring problem is that it's a story about faith. It's a story about faith. It's a story about belief. The boogeyman is upset because in the Dark Ages, people used to believe in him, and pay him homage that way. Whereas Jack Frost is invisible to these kids, and he keeps trying to get them to recognize who he is by giving them snow days and stuff, and letting them kind of have fun going down the hills and stuff on their crazy carpets or whatever. And no one kind of turns around and recognizes who it is that's doing it. So the first sort of interesting point is that the bad guy and the good guys both share the same mission. They're competing with the kids believing in them. And that's a weird system, right? It's a very weird sort of story. It comes out of sort of a dualist cosmology, right? Where you don't really see good and evil. Good and evil are just sort of like sticky notes that we put on two opposing sides, kind of like a chess match, right? It's black versus white. It's good versus evil, but they basically amount to the same thing. The good guys think they're the good guys, and the bad guys think they're the bad guys, and they're sort of equal and opposed, but they both need to be in balance. Like there's all sorts of different kind of versions of this. So that's a problem. How are we doing comments-wise?
Hi from Saskatoon.
Okay.
Her name is written in Ukrainian, so I have no idea who it is.
Is it Andrea? Does it start with an A?
It starts with an
Yeah.
A.
Hello.
And then Steph says, Assumption in Calgary.
Assumption. Thank you, Steph.
There's 7 people watching.
7 people watch. Awesome.
8 people watching.
8 people watching. Awesome. For the person just joining, we're talking about Rise of the Guardians, animated children's show, and why you should watch it with your kids, not let them watch it by themselves, and what you should talk about after the show. This is one of our favorite, by the way, this is one of our favorite things to do as a family. We sit around the dinner table after watching the show, and we each sort of give our spiel about what we thought, why we liked it or didn't like it, what we, can we find a Christian message in it or not? Can we find a message that isn't a Christian message? Where does it fail? Where does it entertain? I found this was an entertaining movie. It really was interesting. There were some really funny lines in it, but there are some problems that I'm going through right now. So that's the first problem, is that the bad guy and the good guys are actually on the same mission. It's just a competition of belief. And so that sort of brings to the second problem, right? Belief in what? Right? Belief in what? That is something that sort of plagues the whole storyline. There's no sort of transcendent why as to what it is that the kids are believing. It's just that the kids are believing in the boogeyman, and the boogeyman sort of kidnaps Sandman and makes it so that the kids are just having nightmares, and that's bad. And then the kids start believing in the boogeyman more, and believing in, I don't know, good night's sleep less, right? Something like that. The boogeyman goes out and kidnaps all of the tooth fairies minions, and so the teeth aren't being collected and the quarters aren't being put under the pillows. Therefore, the children are ceasing to believe in the tooth fairy, and that's sort of causing a negative belief effect, right? Like there's no sort of, later on we realize it's part of the story that the teeth are connected to the memories, that the kids start losing their memories because the
Really?
yeah, because that's how Jack Frost
I didn't connect
gets his
that.
memory back. Remember?
I didn't connect that.
That's
That's
yeah.
a pretty loose connection.
it is.
Well,
I'm not the one that made it up. It's a loose fitting story. so this is sort of where it's at, right? So what winds up happening is the Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny all kind of work together to get the teeth collected and deliver the money in order to sort of get the kids to believe. They have this like big globe that lights up, and belief is up and belief is down, but belief in what? And you can sort of see that system that's closed in on itself of simple belief doesn't work. And you can see that it doesn't work because they have to appeal to something that is bigger than them. And I've already mentioned who that is, and that's the man in the moon, right? They have to be put on a mission that they don't choose, but they never explain who the man in the moon is, why he wants them to guard these kids, what exactly he's guarding them from. Like they say the boogeyman eventually, but there's no sort of explanation. But you can see that there needs to be some explanation because they themselves in the story have to have Jack Frost become who he is, because he's originally a human being before. And the man in the moon has to kind of bring him out of that. So that's sort of where it's at. They have to have a man in the moon. Okay, so that's the second thing. Now the third thing is that it's very interesting as a society. So part of this podcast is I want to do an honest review of this movie with you and give you some sort of speaking points if you're going to watch it with your kids. But I also kind of want to use it as an example to talk about our culture, right? What does it say about our culture, Well, I would say that it says that really the shadow version of what has remained after a Christian society doesn't satisfy. Okay? We're living on the interest of a capital, a down payment of Christianity that is no longer there. So there's nothing really stopping the Tooth Fairy from being the queen of capitalism here. They're going to believe in a quarter that they're going to find under their pillow. Or Santa Claus being anything more than just sort of a guy that inspires some type of wonder, which is fine, but is not good enough, right? That's the problem. It's not that wonder isn't good. It's that it's just not good enough. It's not that, hey, it's kind of neat that my tooth falls out and I get some money for it, but like doesn't make you a superhero. It's just not good enough. And that really does show it. That's why in the title I said a secularist fairy tale, right? Because that's what it is. It's the world trying to inject meaning into the world, as opposed to the Christian understanding of discovering the inherent meaning of the world. Okay? We as Christians believe in a sacramental worldview. We have a mission that we don't invent. And when you've got to do the backbreaking work of inventing meaning, you actually realize that the meaning you come up with isn't really worth fighting for to begin with, right? That's the bottom line. It's not worth it, So that goes to sort of the third thing, which is the core. So Jack Frost is looking. By the way, there's like major spoiler alerts. If you want to enjoy this movie, turn this thing off now and then watch it afterwards. Okay? Maybe I should have said it at the beginning. Spoiler alerts.
You haven't really spoiled anything. I would have stopped you.
You don't think so? Okay. So I'm really gonna spoil something now. Turn it off if you need to. So Jack Frost has the same hang-ups, as I said, that the boogeyman does. He wants kids to believe in him. He doesn't remember who he is. He doesn't really have a motivation for doing what it is that he's doing. And so he talks to Santa Claus, and the Santa Claus shows him one of those Russian dolls that come apart. What are they called again? Anyway, the ones that like have like a lady. They're like these big dolls that.
You are Ukrainian. You should know.
Yeah, I should know these things.
You're a
Anyway,
disappointment.
I'm a disappointment. That's okay. That's not news. Anyway, so they like flip out. There's another one inside of them, and then there's another one inside of them, and another inside of them. And so he's explaining to Jack Frost that like, on the outside I am really big and strong and intimidating, but then you open it up and I'm like a little softy or whatever, and I open it up further and I'm a thinker, and I open it up further and he's something else, and then finally he gets to the smallest unit, and it's a baby with big wide eyes, you know. And so Jack Frost says, "What's going on?" It's like a baby with big eyes, and Santa Claus says, "Yes, it's a baby with big eyes because that's my center." Okay, I encourage wonder in children, and it actually is this. It's this really nice sort of well done moment where, you know, you see the magical toys that Santa Claus makes, and sort of the, you know, there's like that buy-in of the kids where they're looking for something, you know, they're wondering at the world, right? Which is very cool. Once again, if there's something to wonder about, right? Wonder doesn't answer itself. Wonder is pointing somewhere. Wonder is an invitation to recognize that there is something wonderful in the world, and that's the unanswered question, right? So wonder can't really be your center. It can be something that you use in order to do something else, right? It can be what we would call an instrumental end. And that would be his sort of special talent. So that's his center. So he says, "What's your center?" And then Jack Frost doesn't know what his center is. And so the rest of the story is him trying to kind of find his center, you know, to figure out what his motivations are. How are we doing for comments there, Pani Debrodica?
It's fine.
We're good? Anyone on the other walls? Anything? We're good?
Oh, the other walls. Okay, let me open them up and see.
Thank you. Good. So then Jack Frost eventually kind of goes and figures out what his center is, because he's tempted by the boogeyman. So this is a good scene. I think that there's a scene here that you can really sort of show that there's a good that can come out of this movie. And so one of the scenes is that Jack Frost is supposed to guard the Easter eggs for Easter, but the boogeyman kind of makes it so that he distracts him by giving him information about his parents. He because he stole all the teeth, he has all the memories, and so he says to Jack Frost, "Well, you know, wouldn't you like to know, you know, who you are, or whatever the case is?" And Jack Frost was tasked with defending these tunnels so that the Easter eggs could come up and the children could believe again, right? So the boogeyman tempts him by giving him something good, and it's a good conversation to have. You know, that the devil doesn't just tempt you with bad stuff; he can also tempt you with good stuff, and he can tempt you really well with good stuff. So although looking for your motivation can be a good thing, done in the right time, done in the wrong time, in the wrong context, it's not a good thing. You know, he's supposed to be doing something else, and he's not. He's not following the duty of the moment. And so that's a good scene to bring out and to talk about if you're going to talk about it with your kids. So what winds up happening is he gets his memories, Jack Frost does, and he realizes who it is that he is before he's turned by the Man of the Moon into Jack Frost. And so the scene is that he's leaving his house with his little sister, and they're gonna go ice skating. Spoiler alert! Yeah, this is like a super big spoiler. Any comments yet? So
no, you're
okay,
fine.
awesome. So he's gonna go ice skating with his little sister, and the mom is like, "Be safe," you know. Oh, dramatic foreshadowing. He's like, "Oh yeah, of course I will be safe. You know, everything's fine." And then it flashes forward to them on the ice, and his sister's standing there, and she looks terrified, and underneath her feet, the ice is cracking under her skates, right? And so her brother the future Jack Frost, is saying to her, like, you just stand still, like, don't be afraid, everything's going to be fine, blah, blah, blah. And he realizes that the ice is still cracking, and his sister's going to fall in. And he has this kind of long shepherd's hook with him, which is a very pastoral symbol, by the way. Anyway, so he's there, and he's like, we can have a little bit of fun, is what he says. We can have a little bit of fun. We're going to turn this into a game, okay? And then he like turns it into a game to sort of assuage her fears. And then right when she's in the right spot, he like whips out that shepherd's hook, and he pulls her to the side. And in so doing, he winds up going onto that ice patch, okay? And then he falls in, and he dies. So
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. So that's like the central, scene that everyone's been waiting for in the whole movie, and it is actually a very moving and beautiful scene. Like this boy dies to save his sister. It's like the moment of agape love, that is going to define why he's doing what he's doing in the first place. He's a guardian because of love. Sacrifice. Like, wow. But that's not how it turns out, right? This is the biggest letdown in the world, right? Well, there are probably bigger ones, but this is a pretty big letdown. So he realizes that his center is fun, right? Just like how the other ones is. I'm not joking. I'm not joking, right? It's not love. It's fun, and that's in a nutshell. That's the problem with this movie, is that it's an instrumental. He uses an instrumental end as the final end. If he had realized that his core was love, wow, it would have been a super powerful movie. But he realizes, and sacrifice, like agapic love, But instead he realizes that it's fun. So how does he guard these kids to believe in whatever it is that they're supposed to be believing in? Is, like snowball fights and frosted things that look really cool and snow days so they can avoid going to school and, all sorts of stuff like that.
Unless they're homeschooled.
Yeah, unless they're homeschooled, that's right.
No snow days.
No snow days for you in our house. So that's kind of where it's at with that. So it's a very, very odd. It's a very odd thing. I think there was such great potential there for him to realize, I do this out of love. And I suppose, you could make the argument that, well, that's assumed. They're guarding them because they should love them, but it's not assumed strongly enough. It doesn't warrant that. I don't think that's shown at all. So you just get a battle of who you're going to believe in more, me or the boogeyman, or me or the guardians, or whatever. And these different sort of centers being their superpowers, as opposed to the centers of them being love and the reason why they do what it is that they're doing. So it's a movie missing a why. It doesn't have that core at all. So that's that. That's Rise of the Guardians. Like I said, I would not
link it to secular, what it says about the secular world, weren't you?
Yeah, I did. I talked a little bit about that, about how, and that's okay. So I can go a little bit further to that. That whole why is the world now. We don't have the same guiding principles, not just morally, but the same beliefs that guide, like that inform those guiding principles morally. We don't have a sacramental worldview that we can take for granted that then allows us to, to be able to identify why it is that I do. Right? We're kind of those actors that the typical actor joke. What's my motivation? What's my motivation? Well, that's kind of like where we are in the world now. We don't have that motivation. We don't really know why it is that we want to do what it is that we want to do. In past cultures, they asked a very different epistemological question. Kim and I were watching a show on Bishop Barron's Word on Fire Institute, which I recommend, by the way. But
I fell asleep.
yeah, it's this one professor is talking all about epistemology. Epistemology is the study of thoughts, like why you can know what it is that you think you know, things like that.
So you should think about why you think what you're thinking.
It's about thinking about thinking. Yeah, thinking about why you're thinking about your thinking about it. It's a very interesting. Anyway, the epistemological question in our society today is, am I happy? Right? That's the question behind everyone's day-to-day work, whether they admit it or not, or know it or not. You know, it takes all sorts of different ramifications. Like, am I fulfilled in this job that I am doing? You know, like translation, am I happy? Right? You know, what's going to make me feel complete? You know, all those sorts of. We are always asking that question, whether we realize we're on that road or not. We're looking for happiness, you know, and not I wouldn't say happiness in the way Aristotle uses it either, because he uses it a different way. But am I happy? And in the past, cultures asked different questions, and one of those questions that I would challenge all of us to refocus on is not, am I happy? Catch yourself asking that. Am I happy? Am I really asking, am I happy? And then substitute this one in, am I free? Am I free? Because that's a very different life goal. You can live your whole life trying to be happy. You won't really be happy. You'll wind up missing it. But if you are living your life trying to be free, and when I say free, I mean free to love, then all of a sudden, there's going to be a very different sort of way of going about it. And so freedom that way, freedom to love, is a much better sort of goal, which includes happiness. You will wind up being happy. And that can be shown, you know, we can do a little thought experiment, unless we've got some comments. Do we have some comments? I'm definitely blabbing lots in this one. Okay, we still have viewers, or are they all like
no, there's 11 people
abandon this? Wow.
that are still watching.
Wow. Okay, so let's do a thought experiment. So the thought experiment is, think to a time where you were the happiest you have ever been. Okay? Think of a moment where, hands down, you know, you were just absolutely happy and fulfilled. Now, honestly, try to come up with a moment like that. You know, a moment where you were the most happy. And then, dollars to donuts, I'm willing to bet you. Okay.
None of my money, though.
None of Kim's money. Whatever that means. No, I mean,
Just donuts.
Just donuts. Dollars, yeah, just donuts. I'm willing to bet you that in that moment, you woke up to happiness. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that you found yourself in a situation where you weren't purposely searching for happiness, but you wound up being happy. You wound up being happy. It's not like you were like, oh, I've waited in line at Disneyland for 4.5 days to go on this ride. I went on the ride and I'm the happiest I've ever been in my whole life. I'll bet you there are moments, thank you so much, here's happiness for me. I'll bet you there are moments where this moment that you have in your mind is not one where you went out to find happiness. That somehow you woke up into happiness. And that's the secret of happiness, right? Is that whenever you're looking for it, you're not going to find it. Happiness is a byproduct. It's a byproduct. And you will never, you can chase happiness for the rest of your life. It will always escape out the back door. It'll like go through your fingers, like Princess Leia says to Darth Vader, that the more systems will go through his fingers, right? It just bleeds out. You can never track it down. It has to come as a byproduct of doing something else. And that something else, search your memory, see if this is accurate. I'm willing to bet that the happiest you've ever been was a moment that was not really about you, right? The birth of a child, for example. You know, I remember when our firstborn son was born, one of the happiest moments of my life, right? And you know, not that I didn't go there expecting to be happy, but not like that. You know, like I woke up to an experience that I didn't expect. You know, I wasn't searching for it, and it wasn't about me. It was about the fact that there was a new person in this world, and it was beautiful. You know, that's what I'm talking about. So I'd be interested to know. You know, maybe share if you're comfortable with that somehow through the comments or something. If that describes a moment that you've had. But that's another indicator of sort of where we're at with our secular world, is that there's all sorts of substitutes for this stuff, you know. But it's not going to feed you. It's not going to complete you until we recognize that it's not about us. That's like another movie. Another spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! There's a Marvel movie called Doctor Strange, and it's got its problems too, let me assure you. But one of the scenes that I think they got right was when this mystic lady was dying, and she's sort of this wise seer or whatever. She's talking to Doctor Strange, and she says, "Well, it's not about you. Like, you haven't figured that out yet. It's just not about you." And I think it's the saints who have figured that out. You know, the saints are the ones that have figured out that it's not about us. It's not about our fulfillment. It's not about our search for happiness. It's about the Lord, and it's about the other. And when we figure that out, then we're free. You know, then we're free. We can not have to worry about all those things that we got to worry about, like we're going to talk about in the gospel on Sunday. Okay, I'm going to eat this chocolate and take some comments.
There's no comments.
What kind of chocolate is this?
Do you like it?
Not particularly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is it like half sweet chocolate?
It's keto chocolate.
No, that's why I don't like it. Ugh,
It's good. It's just sweetened with stevia.
gross.
It's just sweetened with stevia.
I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled.
Fine.
I did not wake up to happiness there. No, I don't need another one. No, I don't need another one. I'm the kind of guy that food has to declare itself first. An example is lamb. I like lamb just fine. But sometimes lamb looks like beef. Like it looks like a steak. And if my brain says, "Oh, you're going to enjoy this steak," and then I start to eat this steak. Thank you so much. You can have that one. Thank you. If I start to eat that steak thinking if I start eating the lamb thinking it's steak, I will not like it. Even if I like bite into it and I'm like, "Oh, it's lamb. I like lamb," but I was like ready for steak, it just ruins it. I can't enjoy it, right? It's the same thing with keto chocolate. If I think it's normal chocolate and I eat it, it's ruined. Not forever. But. All right, people. We need some good questions here. Anything? Well, we might end 20 minutes early then.
No.
I'll give you guys a couple seconds. Hi, Georgia. Why don't you come over here for a couple seconds? We'll ask you what you thought of the movie. What did you think of the movie Rise of the Guardians? Be honest.
Well, when I was a kid, I thought, like, when I was
When you
younger,
were a kid.
When you were a kid, before you reached the ripe old age of, how old are you now?
8,
8.
when I was younger, like Fifi's age, when I watched the movie, I thought it was a good movie. Now I think, like, why the moon? Why is the moon, like, the source of everything? And, like, the children have to believe in them or they disappear, like...
Right.
And then
Maybe like that. What were some things that you did like about the movie, though?
I did like how Jack Frost sacrificed himself for his sister.
Mm-hmm. That was a very powerful moment for me, too. I like that as well. Do you think that the boogeyman is the scary bad guy?
No.
Why not?
Because, like, basically, he's just Jack Frost, back, older, and then he can make dreams into nightmares. That's all he can do, basically.
Okay. So you didn't really find him that serious of a threat.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. What do you like better? Onward or
Don't kick the table, please.
Onward.
Onward or this one? Why?
Because Onward, it has a sacrifice in it. Like, he doesn't get to see his dad
Yeah.
when his brother gets to, like, it has a sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, basically, Jack Frost doesn't have a sacrifice.
All right. What about Little Mermaid?
The Little Mermaid, no, it doesn't have a sacrifice at all.
Why not?
Because, like, basically, there's nothing, like, there's no way you can have a sacrifice in The Little Mermaid. Like, music doesn't happen, and then suddenly music does happen. That's basically like.
In the end, what is she? She gets to have her cake and eat it too, right? She gets her legs, and she doesn't get to.
Yeah.
And she still. How does it work again? She doesn't die. She doesn't give up her legs.
Nope. Yeah.
Different than a fairy tale, right, Miriam?
Yes.
Yes, very much different. What happens in the fairy tale?
She dies.
She dies, but she dies for him.
Yes.
She saves his life. It's a very different thing.
Please don't hit the table.
All right. Well, thank you. Here, you can have one of these
Say.
because I know you came over here for one of those. Well, if you want to wine gum, you got to answer questions then. Okay, sweetheart. Mwah. Let's put Miriam in the hot seat. She can tell us what she thought.
No.
Oh, are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. No, you can have that one too. We got comments yet?
No,
That's because these guys like zoned out like.
there's 10
an hour
people.
ago.
There's 10 people. Go say hi, Miriam.
Why don't you tell us about one of your favorite movies, Miriam? You don't really have favorite movies? Okay. Well then,
About that.
I think, dear fellow coffee lovers, we might move to a close this time. But remember, friendly public service announcement, write down what you want to talk about, PM me, you can text me or Facebook me or whatever the case is, and I'm more than happy to bring these things up and chat about them on the air with our coffee session. And to all the Jesus Bear 40 people out there, one more time, this was not originally intended as part of the challenge, but I hope you're enjoying it and benefiting from it. This is an outreach program as with part of Musings with Father Mike. So welcome to all the new Jesus Bear 40 people that are here. And with that, we will bid you adieu. Have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful afternoon, and we will see you next time. God bless.
Okay, press stop, Miriam.
Okay.